Are you connecting all the dots on the journey to your inner wisdom? Are you looking for a fresh perspective on the messages you've been asking for?
So who doesn't want to be happier, healthier, wealthier, and wiser, and be able to make life's choices with confidence because they finally see the signs? We know you do.
I'm Angela Coulter.
And I'm Sarah Sieg Avignoni.
We're two conscious journeyers dedicated to turning over those rocks and helping you on your personal intuitive sleuthing mission of evolution in our multi-dimensional hologram.
And that includes Earth too.
Yes, it does. Welcome to Solving Me, our conscious puzzle-solving podcast, where we look at the natural relation between your life experiences and their meaning in the bigger picture, from the most mundane to the most overwhelming.
So what do we mean by all this? Well, have you ever thought that getting a flat tire and twisting your ankle could be related? And maybe a message about what's preventing you from getting that awesome, high-paying job you would love. Believe it or not, it's all connected.
Want to know more? Come on and let's get sleuthing. See what comes up in this episode, because it might just be about you. Welcome to episode 8. Today we're talking about pets and the fabulous messages that they can give us every day.
Right. It's quite a myriad of circumstances and, I don't know, fun and not so fun.
Yes. I have so many things representative of pets, particularly dogs and cats, but it doesn't have to be dogs and cats. It can be actually horses are great message mediums.
Right. Such big energies. And, birds even.
Mm-hmm.
I love the, I've so many videos now that the world is so much smaller with social media and everything. And you see interaction with, donkeys and monkeys and, fish. Fish has this best friend that it's a little toddler that comes and feeds it every day. I mean, crazy things like that. But I have dogs, you have cats, and that's where I get so many messages aside from the animals in my backyard, which probably is a whole nother episode. So we're going to stick more with the pet thing.
Many don't realize that our pets are giving us messages all the time, and they are a very, very bright mirror for us that we often don't pay attention to in that way.
Well, and they are so intimate with us. A lot of times they sleep with us. They're always with us. They're in our homes. They're a constant companion, and they're that reflection back of unconditional love. So the messages are also from that place of unconditional love. So
yes,
it's just, how can you really be mad at them for their messages? Although it's tempting at times, but
we do get mad at them.
Right. So. Right. And that's a further example of, once you step into that bigger perspective, how we can get more into that, finding it humorous. When you ask the right questions. I know so many messages have come up through my dogs between, why it was this food okay yesterday and not today. And even though I spend a huge amount of money on this food and you don't want to touch it now, or I go to all this extra effort to add all these extra special things to your food and you still turn your nose up.
Exactly.
Or, why do I feel that I need to be peed or pooped on? Or my house needs to be peed or pooped on. Yeah. Well, okay, so it's 26 degrees outside and icing. I cut you a little slack, but there's still a message in there.
And so, number one, there's a couple of things, what I find interesting is many perceive our pets to be of lower consciousness than us, which is not in my experience at all.
Kind of the opposite in my experience.
Yes. Because so my understanding and my feeling has been that because they have, we're all the same in consciousness. We're all part of the same thing. And we've all been animals as much as we've been humans and other beings of all kinds and plants and other places in the multiverse, whatever. But because they embody in these smaller bodies that have very specific functions, right? They have this bigger energy field while they're embodied. So they might not be conscious of, like, we've brought so much consciousness in verbalization and communication that we've sort of cut off a lot of the understandings from the, like from the expanded fields that the animals have not cut off. So they feel so much more purely, right?
Yes.
And so our pets, being as intimate as they are with us, they pick up stuff out of our energy fields all the time. So,
Right.
you have an anxious dog, where do you think that anxiety comes from?
Oh, right. Or the, the allergies and the irritations. Allergies are nothing but irritations. And it's like, what are you irritated about?
Oh, and and I have a cat that went one of my cats went through that, and he is so close to me. And there was stuff going on in the household that was very irritating for a while, and he's gotten much better, but he was licking himself, and then he got very irritated when I was away. And so then you got to say, okay, what is that reflecting back to me? Is that everybody else got irritated while I was away because I was gone? Is it because I was away and came back in a completely different vibration because it was at a retreat, and then I was irritated, like it was like a clash and friction in the house of energy that wasn't yet, assimilating, right? So he was trying to be the mediator,
the go-between, right? The peacemaker. Well, and and a lot of animals, the peacemaker, if there's friction between humans within the house, they're going to reflect that in a certain way. And typically it's particular to the relationship. So it's hard to say, well, this means this. It's very subjective.
Yes.
But
it's always asking, what is this about, right? That's part of the going deeper of, so, okay, I've noticed this is a message. What is this particular, or what does it feel like? What does it feel like? Like, I had my dog that passed away in 2017. She was my shadow. And if my husband and I ever got into an argument, like, it could just be a little debate, and she would literally physically sit in between us and like as a bear. And it wasn't like it wasn't like one of us was being like physically abusive or anything like that. It was literally, it would just be maybe even a debate or, a friction between us. And it was like, no, I got this. I'll take it on. And it's like, no, we need to work this out.
Oh, exactly. And another thing, another place to look for messages is if you have a pet that dies, passes away, there's messages in that, all over that. I know that I've had everything from long protracted illnesses that just drag on and you almost feel like you're torturing them because there's a treatment, but they just don't want to leave. They don't want to leave. And so you feel obligated. And then just recently I had one that I looked out and he was dead under a tree in the backyard. And it's like, oh, okay. I guess I no longer want to participate in that suffering. And then when your time's done.
Which, from a bigger perspective, that's fabulous to be able to do that without the suffering, right? Our ego doesn't quite think so, but
and I miss him every day, but I appreciate the fact that given that it was since it was a condition that would have prevented him from leading a long life, I'm happy that there was no suffering that accompanied that. So I feel like something shifted in all of that for myself. But again, had I not seen that message, I wouldn't be able to get that gratitude and appreciation of that information that he gave me in his departure.
Yes. And they do give us a lot of information. We don't give them enough credit for what they're showing us, because they do have a simpler setup in what they're here to function as, physically versus emotionally, which is really the function, right? And it's the mirror from that heart versus from that unconditional love, as you said, versus what we're seeing, like the pooping and peeing, or, the physical ailments or whatever. It's like, okay, but that's just, as in humans, it's just a physical manifestation.
Exactly. Yeah.
my dog, she was so funny. She always wanted to be a part of sessions when I did, when I did them in my house. And she was so mad at me for like the 3 years I had an office outside of the house, because she was like, no, no, no. She would be upset with me because I'm like, I want to see clients too with you, right? She would lay down in the room, but she would take on my client's stuff. And I had to tell her, no, don't do it. Like,
Exactly.
no more shamanic stuff. That's what the shamans did. And that's not needed anymore. The energy has shifted. But she would get these big bulbous things in her ears. Like she had fluffy ears, and she would just have like this blow up, and then it would go away. And it was like her taking on this energy. I'm like, no, 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 we're working to shift that. Not for you to take it on. I had a
Right.
cat that I used to call my shamanic cat, because he would come into the room, sit at the foot of my client, and start to hack up.
Whatever it is they were hacking up.
Whatever. I had a client who was coming in for a class one weekend that I was doing at my house, and she had broken her shoulder that week. And she wanted to still come to class, but she was in a lot of pain. So she asked if she could come in for some extra healing work before class started, to try to, like be able to function through the class. It's like, sure. So I had her sitting up because it was the shoulder, right? So I had her sitting up in a chair, and I had not closed my office door all the way. And my shamanic kitty comes in, sits down, and I'm like, I'm standing behind her, and my eyes closed, and he sits down underneath that shoulder and throws up, gets up, and walks out. And I was out there, and a part of me wanted to be like, oh my God. Now this woman is a big pet person, and she at one point had like 5 dogs. So I knew it didn't bother her that much, but I was like, I wanted to stop. And my guidance was, no, keep going, keep going. And we got done. And she said, oh, that was hysterical when he came in and threw up. And she goes, but I want to tell you something, that I immediately started feeling less pain after he threw up. And I said, dang cat.
Right.
But thank you. And that's the thing, is like, he sort of looked at me like, are you going to thank me or what?
Right. You're welcome.
You're welcome with that. But so it's funny, those of us who do energy healing and stuff like that, our animals like to get involved, but we don't realize that the animals are always doing it, whether we're doing that or not. Right. So
exactly. And, something to keep in mind, just like with everything else, is if you're going along and all of a sudden a behavior changes, that's a clear message.
Yes.
That, okay, something's different. So observe that. Is that something, oh, I'm on a better path, or, oh, I need to get on a better path. I need to do different.
And I had my shamanic kitty, his name was Coco. He had this blatant message for me to stop calling things a pain in my butt, because he developed a tumor on his butt at the end of his life that was very visible. It was on the outside, and it was not a malignant one, but it ended up blocking everything, and they couldn't get it out because it would have like messed up too many of the nerves and stuff, and he would have just been completely incompetent. So that was his last message for me. And I clearly got that it had to do with that. And I was like, I just have to be, and that was about complaining, right? Be careful about complaining, be careful about what you create, because it was such a physical representation.
Right.
And so that was a big shift for me in how I worded things. And I started watching everything on what I worded and how I created
and
them.
Communicating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, messages have to do with things like Sarah said, allergies, high maintenance.
Right.
Like cats, I jumped to cats because dogs are high maintenance too, but cats are known to be a little more high maintenance sometimes not. But I look at that, like, why do I need to give them all these supplements, right? Why do I believe that I need to give them all the supplements? Or, why did I purposely choose high maintenance? Did I feel like, my 2 cats, they have a birth defect, right? And it's a minor one that they both have, but it's caused them a little higher maintenance over the years than, standard. And then it's like, well, but they sort of came to me, like they came to me, and then the question is, well, why did I feel like I needed that? Like, did I feel like I needed to have higher maintenance to have more interesting, like a more interesting experience?
Right. Right. Or I needed that to distract me from something.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. And so as they've aged, their birth defect has become less and less of an issue.
Right.
They're middle aged. So, it's a matter of what are we doing and choosing with our animals and our pets in our house? Like in relationships that we talked about a few episodes ago,
Right.
how like they're our most intimate, like you were saying, like they sleep in beds with us, like they sit on our laps. We look to them when we're in a crappy mood.
Right. There's a lot of expectation there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it follows up on it's a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's probably one of the most honest relationships, given that you can talk ugly to them and they'll still unconditionally love you.
Even though then you feel bad about yourself and they're just like, but that's a great representation of, as the divine, we're always love worthy. Even when
Absolutely.
even when our egos are having a crappy day or want to grumble or want to see things in a negative light, completely a message to say, hey, you're still lovable, still love you, right? There's still a part of
Exactly.
me that loves me and
Right.
you're worth it. And so like so many people look and they're like, oh, well, look at how crappy this person treats their dog or animal or their cat, and their cat still, or their pet still, loves them. Right. Well, because it's showing them at some point, it's almost like, the ego says, oh, that's just foolish to continue like going back, like what's the term kicking the dog kind of thing, right?
Uh-huh. Yep.
But it's like this reflection of it's at what point are you going to see that you're still worthy of love? And stop feeling so bad about yourself that you're projecting it onto somebody else who is showing you that unconditional love.
Exactly.
So a lot with that. So thank your pets. Give them a hug tonight.
Right. You look at them completely different now.
And thank them for coming to be a part of your life, to be that very pure, unconditional love-based message board for us as we move forward. And to say, okay, so what is it, what are the things that they're showing me? Sometimes it's literally in the moment, right? Sometimes it's been, like I was saying, like there were times when my dog was alive and my husband and I would be in a debate or something, and she would just get irritated and just get right. Like I could tell, because all of a sudden she would get right in between us. And
Uh-huh.
it'd be like, oh, we're getting a little heated. Like, do we need to step back and
And measure our words better.
yes, measure our words better. Is if she's anxious, if she's being anxious, is there something that I'm not looking at, that I'm just like putting out this frenetic energy that now is reflecting back to me in the dog or the cat?
Uh-huh.
What am I being blind to? Well, that
Uh-huh.
just hit me. That just hit me because I had a cat that went, and she went blind before she died. It's like, well, so what was she reflecting? I don't think I ever looked at that. Like, what was she reflecting back to me that I was blind to at the time? So,
Well, and like my daughter's dog is very protective of her, and it's like, oh, is she giving off an energy of that need to be protected,
feeling
um,
vulnerable and
vulnerable,
Mhm.
and she is very young in her field, and so I feel that she always feels that she needs to prove herself, so she's always kind of having to build herself up, and so she's protecting herself.
Mhm.
And he steps in when he feels he needs to, even if it's a package delivery.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
I got this for you. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So look at how your animals act around you and around others in the house, and ask yourself, I mean, it's probably a lot more obvious than you think it is.
Right. And numerous.
Mm-hmm. Many, many messages.
Right.
Probably even more so than your others in the household.
Oh, yeah. I would agree.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to us on Solving Me. If you found this podcast helpful, make sure to subscribe so you get noticed every time we post a new episode.
And for a short time, we have a special bonus for you. Go to solvingme.net to download your free ebook, which outlines the next level of conscious solutions for your inner investigation.
Be sure to help us spread the word. Share us with others you know who want to solve the puzzles of their everyday life through the filter of expanded consciousness and have fun doing it.
One more thing. Do you have some puzzling life circumstances where you feel blocked and you'd like our take on what's going on? Send us your conscious puzzle at connect@solvingme.net, and maybe you'll be the topic of a future episode.
Until next time, happy sleuthing.